Hello, everybody. Hi, Janine. Thanks so much for holding that introductory space. And I'm just going to have my camera on for a little while just to say hello to everyone so you can just see that I am here and real. And I see there's a few new names, which is always lovely. So thank you so much for joining us. So as you can see, or you might have noticed that the title on the screen, I've changed slightly. I've said, I want to talk about celebrating with your animal family and friends instead of just easing through the holidays as the original title. So this is really about celebrations and how to make the celebrations as joyful as possible for everyone. And so I know there's people from all over the world and you all have your different ways of celebrating these holidays, or maybe you don't even need a holiday to celebrate, and the animals certainly don't. But let's start off the call with a short introductory meditation just to get everybody on the same wavelength and to get centered and focused for this time together. So thank you everyone for joining me at this time. I'm going to switch my camera off, and while I do that, won't you just make yourself very, very comfortable? Okay. And as you do that, just take a deep breath in and slowly breathe out. Feel your feet firmly on the ground. You can close your eyes and just listen to my voice. As you breathe in, I want you to breathe in a beautiful rose gold light that signifies unconditional love. Breathe it into your heart space and just feel the quality of that unconditional love. That is the love that the animals and nature have for you. Just focus on your heart space. As you breathe in, you're breathing in that beautiful feeling of love. And as you breathe out, you're letting go any worries or anxieties, any fears, any heaviness. And you see that being transformed into light, into love, into the energy of respect, and into the energy of joy. Love, respect, and joy, those are the three energies that are key to connecting with the animals and other species. So while you're in your heart space at this time, feel what that unconditional love feels like. Think about someone that you love the most in your world. It can be a human, an animal, a being that you have the immense, incredible, unconditional love for, and feel the quality of that love. Feel it expanding in your heart space. And at the same time, feel the energy of respect. It might be for that same person, or it might be for someone else that you have absolute respect for. Again, it might be a human being or an animal being. It might even be a tree being, someone who you feel humbled in their presence. For me, it's the lions that I work for, and even my cat friends, my domestic household feline friends. Absolute respect that they hold for me. And just feel the quality of that energy, that feeling in your heart, along with the unconditional love. And then feel that absolute transformational joy that you feel when you're with that being that you love so much. It is a quiet, beautiful joy. It might be a joy where you want to jump up and down in celebration and sing and dance, or it might just be a quiet, beautiful song singing through the cells of your body. Just feel the quality of that joy of being alive, that joy of being connected with nature at this time. So the combination of those three energies, love, respect, and joy, hold into your heart. And feel it cleansing your heart. Feel it transforming any of the fears, the anxieties, any worries and concerns when you think about anything that is not joyful or not loving that may come into your life. Transform that with these energies of love, respect, and joy. Feel it transform and be in this present moment right now. Perhaps your animal friends are with you in the room as you're listening to me. Or consider your wild neighbors, all the animals and beings that are in the gardens around you. And just feel that beautiful aliveness of life on this planet at this time of immense transformation. And know that if we stay in the space of love, respect, and joy, and not be rocked off our centers by the other stuff that goes on in our lives, the chaos, the fear that goes on around us, keep going back to this beautiful feeling of love, of respect, and joy. And you'll be able to move through anything with your animal friends in support of them and them supporting you. Just take a deep breath in. Give absolute thanks and gratitude to the animals around you, to yourself, to your body, and just feel that beautiful connection that you have with all of nature, with all the people that are on this call, all the beings that are around you, the nature beings, and know that there's no separation, that we are all at one at this time. Just become aware of your breath. Become aware of your body, your physical body on the chair, the feet, your feet firmly planted on the ground. And then when you're ready, open your eyes and let's come back to this discussion about celebrations. Okay. So before we go into just sort of the practical things of holidays and celebrations, what is celebration from a human perspective? Now, humans, I think for me, the holidays are a human creation. You know, we have to have a reason to celebrate. We create these holidays for tradition, to have a break from our daily drudgery, to have a rest, to go away and explore places, to have a party, to eat too much food and perhaps drink too much wine, or just to celebrate and relax. And that is what people almost strive to do when it comes to the holidays. And we get into this, you see it all around you, this festive frenzy of people have to have a good time and people have to be in holiday mode and they're just looking forward to the season. But some people perhaps are not looking forward to it so much because of the pressure that we put on ourselves. But now let's switch that. Let's take a look. What is celebration from an animal's perspective? So here I've got a couple of photographs. And when I was thinking about this, what actually does celebration mean? What is it to celebrate? And one of my students handed in an assignment for the communication with the rooster. And what was so beautiful was that, and it really struck me as she could feel that the first crow of the rooster's song in the morning was filled with absolute joy and magic and celebrations. And so for that rooster, he celebrates every single morning. He announces it with a song. And there doesn't have to be a reason to celebrate. The little cat and the mommy cat and kitten reminded me I went to see a friend last night, and she adopted a rescue mom and her kitten. And I was just watching them with such joy for just being together, joy at life. Every moment seems to be a celebration. When I've got chickens and roosters, so I hear that first crow in the morning. But whenever the chickens lay an egg, there's a celebration. You can hear it. They announce it to the world. Every moment, if I think about the wild animals after the rains in a very hot, dry African, after the drought, you can almost feel the trees and the plants celebrating when they suddenly become green overnight. The lions literally dance in the rains. It is something completely joyful to watch. And of course, there are animals that aren't in a good situation. There's the animals that are, from our perspective, suffering. The ones that are trapped in cages, are trapped in human enslavements. But even then, I'm amazed at what they find to celebrate, because unlike us, who are always living in the past or living in the future and very seldom stop and just be in the moment, the animals are in that moment. And if that moment is feeling peaceful and happy, and they've got some food to eat, and they've got a friend, that in itself is cause to celebrate. So, just looking at our ways of being, living as humans, and going into this time of celebrations. And I think it's really important just to remind ourselves that we should be celebrating every day and every moment. And of course, we do get sort of washed away with this wave of commercialism, I suppose, or the wave of marketing, and then the tradition of family and having to entertain and going out to parties, and sometimes we do have to do that, and it can be joyful. And if you have to do that, do it joyfully. Celebrate, the fact that you are able to do that. And, don't let the sort of, I suppose, the commercialism or the angst around it destroy the actual celebration of what it means to celebrate just being on holiday. I might be contradicting myself a little bit here, but when there is cause to celebrate it fully. And it may just be in the morning bird song, or it may be a really big family party, but really feel the joy in celebrations. One of the things I'm always reminded of when I hear the word celebrate or celebrations is a story that Linda Tuckett tells about her questioning Maria, who was the Lion Queen of Timbavati, who was her mentor, the African elder, the lion shaman, who taught her about the symbolism of the white lions and the magic of nature. And Linda asked her a question, and she said, how do I cope with all the suffering? Because at the time, Linda was uncovering all the canned hunting industry, which was just starting at the time. It wasn't nearly as bad as it is now. But Linda said, how do I cope? How do I change this suffering? How do I make a difference? What can I do? How can I help? And Maria said to her, celebrate. And that didn't make any sense to Linda at all. But Maria again said, celebrate. We have to celebrate. And during my work over the last nearly 20 years with the animals, and working so closely with the lions and with Linda as well, and the African elders, I've had so many messages that we need to focus on the joy and the celebrations of nature, because if we start getting stuck in the suffering and the bad stuff that's going on, we create more bad stuff. And probably, if you are familiar with my work, you've heard me say that so many times. So focus on the joy. Wherever there is suffering, look for joy in your life. You know, wherever you think you're being bombarded by nasty stuff, you'll find the joyfulness that's in that present moment where you are right now. And it just makes all the difference. And it helps you to carry on doing the practical, physical work, along with the beautiful meditations and visualizations that also make a difference on an energetic level. So, with all that in mind about really feeling joyful and during the holidays, you know, what could be stopping the joy for you? And when we have our beloved animals to consider, usually, I mean, the only thing that could really be stopping the joy, and I suppose I'm speaking from my perspective because I always worry about the animals before I worry about anything else. Whenever there's any change happening in the house, you know, my thing is, you know, how are the animals going to react to this? And then I need to address it. So there's a great fear of disturbance for your animal friends. And during this time, it's a very strange time of year. Everyone's very busy planning things, and you know, there's fireworks, which is normally horrendous for most animals because of the noise, the unexpected blasts of really loud bangs. Parties, you know, parties at your home, parties next door, parties in the street, and then of course visitors, you know, that the animals may not know very well, taking over their space that they're used to. And then of course there's travel if you are actually going on holiday with or without your pets, or not pets, animal friends. So this photograph, I've heard about this phenomena, which is they have actually invented silent fireworks. And I think I've been praying for that since I was a little girl, and I wish because I love watching fireworks, but they are so loud and I'm always concerned about the animals. But now, and there's a town in Italy that has banned any noisy fireworks, and the only fireworks that they're allowed are the silent ones. And I think in Italy is the place where they manufacture these. So there's an article, I did put the link up there. I don't think you'll be able to click on it. It's not a clickable link on this file, but you know, take note of it, and if you want to read up about it. I'm very well. We in Cape Town are very fortunate that fireworks have been banned. So I don't really have that issue anymore with my animal friends. But we're going to have a look at the specific situations in a little while. But firstly, I just want to run through the basics, because just in case there's some new people here, about, you know, how do you actually communicate with your animal friends about the changes, you know, and about what's happening in your home. And I'm just going to go run through the basics. I do have a couple of recorded webinars that will be helpful if you want to learn a bit more about this. And the one
Wynter, we seem to have lost you.
I think was a couple of friends. And then, of course, there's a couple of introduction to animal communication webinars as well. But for now, let me just run through the basics. Very, very important to stay positive around any changes or any thoughts about the changes that are happening in your home. So if visitors are coming and you're feeling stressed by it because perhaps it's family that you're not very connected to, but out of duty or obligation, you have to put them up. Stay positive. For your animal friends will pick up on everything that you're feeling. When we have a thought, It's given out as a specific energy, which your animal friend will pick up on immediately. And if we don't become aware of our thoughts, and also if we don't consciously communicate to the animals in a positive way, they're going to get stressed because they're not going to know what's going on, because they're just picking up on your stress. So again, focus on the joy, always focusing on the joy. Send clear messages. So when we're sending messages, we are sending a positive message. The animals pick up an image that we have in our minds. Before we have a thought, we have an image. So if I'm thinking, oh gosh, the dreadful parents-in-laws are coming and I don't know how I'm going to cope, you've got an image in your mind of you not coping with your parents-in-laws coming to visit. But if you have the image of parents-in-laws are coming to visit for the holidays, we're going to have fun, might be a little bit difficult, but it's going to be calm and I am going to cope. You visualize it all happening consciously. Visualize everybody being happy with the animals accepting, the parents-in-laws being more tolerant than perhaps they normally are, you being more tolerant than perhaps that you normally are. So always focus on the positive images. And then you can check in with your animals for any real concerns. And I'll talk about that in the next slide. In this picture, if you've done my excuse me, if you studied with me before, you'll be familiar with this illustration. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. Of how when we are connecting with the animals, we connect, it's a heart connection. And if you think of a stream of energy going from your heart to the animal's heart, or your center, the essence of you, to the animal's center, I always used to think of it as just a beam of light going from my heart to the animal's heart. But a wonderful cat called Gorgeous showed me something very different. And this is what I try to illustrate, is that it's almost a circuit of energy that goes from my heart to her heart, rising up above and then going below. So, connecting with everything, all that is, and including other energies. That's why you need to be so specifically focused on the animal when you are communicating, on the specific animal that you want to communicate with. Okay, so I speak about sending messages, so sending positive messages. So you establish the connection, and I'm just reminding people in my last webinar with the Wisdoms from the Wild Ones, I spoke about the message from Giraffe, who said that when we communicate, before we start communicating, we need to make sure our hearts are clean. Now, remember in the meditation, the introductory meditation, I said, let that unconditional love clean your heart. So let it fill your heart so it transforms any of the anxieties or the stresses, because what we do as humans, we tend to we're sending love out, but that love is contaminated. That's what the animals have shown me. It's contaminated with all our fears and worries and negativity that we kind of gather along the way. So before we start connecting, make sure that your heart is only filled with unconditional love. And then you send that unconditional love out to the animal that you want to communicate with. It's important to ask permission to communicate with your animal friend at that particular time, because they might be busy, and then it's going to be difficult for you to actually focus and for them to focus. It's a two-way communication. It may not seem, the animal can be fast asleep when you're communicating with them, but you are still needing their permission to access the information that they are willing to give you. When you're sending messages, remember I spoke about the mental images, so positive mental image of whatever change is happening, and always make sure it's positive. And then focus on the positive, joyful outcome of the situation where you and the animals and everyone else involved really enjoy the time, no matter how stressful you think it might be or could be. See it being a positive, joyful celebration. Trust that the animal has heard you. Trust that the animal has received your positive message. Because when we start doubting, it kind of interferes with the connection. So just trust. It's all about unconditional love and absolute trust, as well as the respect and the joy. And then at the end of the communication, always give thanks and just a feeling of gratitude towards the animal for actually just being in that space of connection with you. So we may also want to check in with the animal to see if there's, you have your concerns that, um, how's my dog going to react when I go away for 3 weeks? Oh, is he going to be, haven't been away before and he doesn't like strangers, and oh, how's he going to cope? But he might actually have some other concerns. He might be saying, well, I'm worried about you. Where are you going and what are you doing? What is the reason for leaving? So we need to check in. And receiving messages, of course, is slightly more difficult than state. Our mind needs to be completely clear and clean, as well as our heart. Our heart has to be clean, and our mind has to be clean. So again, you establish the connection with a clean heart, as I explained before, and just be very still and centered. Clear your mind. So if a thought suddenly comes through, just let it go. You can almost see it, feel it washing down your body into the earth, or breathe it out, and then just fill your mind, your heart with that unconditional love. By clearing your heart, actually, by focusing on your heart, your mind stops the cluttering and the chatter. So really just focus on your heart when you're in the state of communication. It's probably the easiest thing to do. When your thoughts start chattering away, just go into your heart space. Focus on your heart. Drop your energy down into your heart space. And again, you ask permission to enter into this communication. And then once you are feeling connected and feel that you have permission, be aware of how you feel during that connection. It's very helpful to actually have a notebook and write down the very first things that come. So be aware of any images, any words, any feelings, any sensations in your own body, any kind of, which seem to be thoughts, but aren't from you, if that makes sense. So something pops into your mind that actually you've never thought of before. That is probably coming from, more than likely, because you're in this communication, is coming from your animal friend. Remember, the intention is to receive messages from your animal friend, and you've established this connection with your heart. So if a random thought pops into your mind that doesn't sound like you, I'm sure it's more than likely coming from your animal friend. So if suddenly you feel worried about, as I mentioned before, your dog, you realize your dog is worried more about you than about him. More about you going away and your own safety than about how he's going to cope without you. Then address their concerns with positive alternatives. So you visualize what you're going to do. You visualize yourself having a rest, having a break, or if it's a work related thing, doing the work that you need to do. But you see yourself being very safe, and happy and joyful, and you just hold that image in your, what you're doing is holding it in your mind, but then you're sending it to the animal through your heart. It's difficult to describe in words, but when you actually start practicing and doing it, you'll understand how it works. And then, of course, very important to give thanks again at the end of the communication. All right. So now I'm going to address, I just wrote up a few subjects that are probably the most common concerns during this time of the year. And fireworks came to me the very first thing. If you think of the negative, the stressful things that one would be worried about, basically it's the loud bangs that's frighten the animals, So I know some animals, they completely freak out with loud noises, whether it's thunder or, definitely the fireworks, which are almost unpredictable. I mean, thunder seems to be a little bit more predictable. To screaming sort of fireworks that are about at this time of the year. So how do you address that? Now, they are touch method, Tellington touch method. They've developed things called a thunder shirt, bandage wraps. There's kind of a touch technique that you can use. Some people put on beautiful, soft, calming music, or just the radio to try and block the sounds. On a practical, physical level, do as much as you can if you know that your animals are frightened. Try and be there with them if you know that's going to be if it's Guy Fawkes or New Year's Eve, or, a time where fireworks are very present. Try and be at home with your animals so that you are there to reassure them. But then how do you, on a communication level and an energy level, it's important it's important for you not to get caught up in the fear energy that is being created. The animals will react because of various different reasons. They might have been, very frightened as a baby by a loud noise, not necessarily fireworks, but by any loud noise. They might have inherited this fear from their parents. It's almost a cellular memory. They might have actually just been scared because you expect them, or people expect them to be scared. So they're almost being more scared because you think they should be scared. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what animals will do. If you think they're going to be scared, they're going to say, oh my gosh, why is, mom's scared, I should be scared. So it doesn't help when we get more stressed about the big noise. Think of it as the intention that it is about. It's a celebration. So hold on to that joyful energy of celebration. I mean, it is beautiful to see fireworks. I think everybody loves seeing the fireworks. It's just the noise. So it's just amazing that they've created silent fireworks. And then to reassure your animals that they are safe, and keep that calm energy inside the house. So, just make sure that you're sending them a feeling of calm. You're seeing them all calm, and actually have an image in your mind of them sleeping peacefully, maybe wrapped up in a blanket or in your arms or by the fireplace, or, if it's a like in South Africa where, in a cool hallway, just being safe and calm, and make sure that you are feeling safe and calm at the same time. And also, on a practical level, if you can start petitions and things to ban fireworks in your village or town or suburb, wherever you're living. We managed it in Cape Town. And Cape Town's a huge city, and there used to be we weren't allowed private fireworks, but they still had public displays, and now they've banned even public displays of fireworks. So it can happen. All right. So the next thing I wanted to address was, visitors, people coming to stay. That's often can be a disruption in the house. So the negative side of that, there's strange people coming that they're not used to the energy. There might be people that are very loud and noisy where you're calm, where your house is normally calm and quiet. Extra attention is needed from you, the human, so you don't have as much attention to give for the animals. You're worrying about pleasing the guests. So the animals can start feeling perhaps a little bit displaced. Perhaps they had a favorite chair that they like to sleep in, and now the strange visitor is in the chair every evening, or the spare room where they like to sleep. Now they can't sleep there because the visitor doesn't want the cats on the bed. So, there's all these things to consider. But again, to communicate the positive. The positive is that you're having people stay that you've invited to stay, for whatever reason. And they usually are friends, you don't normally invite enemies to stay, even if you don't get on well with family. There's a sense of community. So family is important, friends are important. And then, prepare your guests. If they're not animal people, just, don't pander to their kind of, I'm being a bit harsh here, I suppose, but don't pander to their needs. Your animals are actually more important. So really just explain. You can be very gentle with them, but you can explain, actually, the dog does sleep on the couch in this house, and we're fine with it. Or, greet the dog as you come, into the home. The cats do like sleeping on the bed, but if you don't want it, that's fine. But just understand, the whole process. So explain to your friends the ways of your animal friends, and it doesn't, you don't have to ignore their needs completely, but the animals do come first, and there is there can be compromise on both sides. So it's not like the animals need to be shoved in the room because there's your friends don't like them. There needs to be compromise on both sides. So perhaps your cat would like to jump on your friend's lap and she doesn't want it. Cat might have to just sit next to your friend instead of on top. And cats, they always want to be cat advocates and go to people who don't think they are cat people. So at the end of the day, the positive result would be that your visitors are actually giving the animals extra love and attention. So it can be a very good thing. So it's about managing the people, managing the animals in a very positive and joyful way, and not getting caught in the angst of it all. And making sure that everybody understands, your animals understand who's coming and when they're coming, and how long they're going to be there for. And even sometimes visitors bring their own animals, and then that's another situation that perhaps needs to be managed. And it's about explaining why they're there, how long they're going to be there. Animals do understand time. So really say, so-and-so is coming for 1 week, and they're going to bring their little dog with them, but we're all friends and it'll be peaceful. And you just see that positive experience and hold on to that positive experience the whole time. And I promise you, it makes such a difference. It really does. Okay, and then of course there's the travel. A lot of people go on holiday this time of the year. They only have their annual leave and take advantage of it. So, the negative, if you're traveling away and having to leave your animals at home, separation anxiety, if you're worried. I just love this photograph. It's not a very good quality pic, but that's so typical of dogs or animals. If you don't explain how long you're going to be away, you've been gone for 2 minutes, are you okay? So always explain how long, where you're going, how long you're going for, when you're going to be back, who's going to be looking after them, and visualize the positive, them being very safe and positive. So the negative, again, is, disruption in routine, fear of abandonment, separation anxiety, all those things that we worry about when we leave our animals. But, the positive thing is that you're having a break. Um, they're going to be looked after by, someone that you trust. You make sure that the person you look after, who is looking after your animals, is someone that you really trust. You can say that, to your animals, visualize them making friends with their house sitter if they don't know them, visualize them being safe at home, and again, explaining how long you're going to be away for. So you can actually say to them, I'm going to, we're coming back on Sunday, the 4th of January, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because they may not know the actual time, and because time is a human invention, but they know what Sunday afternoon feels like, and they'll feel the energy of the length of time. So you can say 1 week or 2 weeks or 2 days or 5 days, and they will feel how long that feels. I know the scientists say that they can't, that most scientists will say that animals don't have any sense of time, but I know that they absolutely do. They've shown me, and it really makes such a difference when you do explain to them when you're going to be back, and the reason why you're going away, which I've mentioned already. You're going to have a break, and you're going to be safe, and you're going to have fun. And then some people, want to travel with their animal friends or need to travel with their animal friends. There is a little bit of fear of that. I remember when I was went on holiday or went away with my dear old cat, because I didn't want to leave her at home alone, and we were going to another house up the coast and going for a month. And I did have worry. I was worried about her traveling in the car, and I was a bit worried about her, how she'd be in the new environment. And I just communicated with her. I communicated the whole journey, her being in the car. I opened up the basket so she could see where we were going. It was sort of a 5-6 hour journey. And I just kept on checking in with her. Are you okay? Everything's fine. And it was actually very, very easy and beautiful. And she really enjoyed being with me, rather than being left alone, with someone just coming in to feed her, or, someone who wasn't us. And it was a beautiful time together. So the positive on that side is, you're going on an adventure. There's so many places now that you can travel with your pets, with your animal friends. You visualize a safe holiday, a holiday at the beach, and, a safe space for you to stay with, and just enjoying a special time together, which you wouldn't have if you were going away by yourself. So just think of those positive things. And then, of course, there are times when you can't find a house sitter, and there's a need for putting your animals in cattery and kennels. And I know most animal lovers really don't want to do that unless they find a cattery that, someone that they absolutely trust with the animals. So if you do need to do that, it's absolutely fine, as long as that place has a good reputation. Do your research, and, trust your gut. Go and visit and see, is this a good place for my animals? Will they be looked after? Again, the negative here is the fear of separation, the fear of their welfare. Will they be looked after well enough? And, will they pine? Will they, all those fears that we have. But really, the positive is to trust that the place that you found is a good place, that the people care about the animals. Again, explain the times, how long they're going to have to be there, and the reasons for them having to be there, because it's a safe space for them. And, you can go and enjoy your holiday knowing that your animals are in a safe space. Many people actually, when they leave their animals at home with the house sitter, they're worried about their cats running away, or the animals disappearing. In a cattery, that's, very seldom the case. It's more unlikely that would happen. So there are good reasons to put your animals into catteries or kennels. So, and it means that you can enjoy your holiday without worrying about them, because what happens when we worry about them when we're away is that because they're so connected with us, that they pick up on our energy and fears, even though we're far away from them. So we don't need to be in the animal's presence for them to pick up on our energy, and also for us to communicate with them. So distance means nothing in the energy world of interspecies communication. So I hope that has all made a bit of sense. I want you to consider now, not just your animal family and all those practical things at home, but also your wild neighbors, the rest of the world that is affected by our rushing about, the fireworks, the big lights, the parties, maybe even the drunk drivers, on country roads where there's wildlife crossing. So just to consider them now, and to send them joy and peace and love during this time. I mean, we probably do it anyway. I certainly do whenever I'm on a country road. I sort of just send a safe feeling to the wildlife on the sides of the roads. So some of the things that we can do, and we're going to do one just now, is to meditate on sending that love and peace. So I'll do a guided meditation in a moment. Of course, instead of maybe giving gifts, a wonderful thing to do is to donate to your favorite organization. That's kind of spreading the joy a little bit wider. It's always a feel-good thing to do on every aspect. And not just donate money, donate your time. I know someone who's spending their Christmas Day feeding at a homeless shelter, feeding humans. And I said, well, I'd be very happy to feed homeless animals on Christmas Day. And really enjoy your rest, enjoy the holidays, and celebrate, really, really celebrate in that beautiful, quiet, joyful way that the animals do. Or not so quiet, thinking about the rooster crowing. It's a special time, it's family time. It's a time that we can stop. We're allowed to stop and just be. But what I'd also encourage you to do throughout the year, it doesn't have to be this specific time of the year. Throughout the year, celebrate every day, with that absolute joy that the animals do. And life will be that much easier. So if you can do that, it would be just amazing. So I came across this quote, which I really wanted to put in here. When you think everything is someone else's fault, you'll suffer a lot. When you realize that everything springs only from yourself, you'll learn both peace and joy. So it's very much about how we see the world and how we handle the bad stuff, because I was listening to Eckhart Tolle's a talk by him about the presence of the present moment, the power of now, which is his book, and really about how we need to be in the present moment. And in that present moment, which I call this moment of connection, he talks about people who are in their head all the time and their ego and blaming everyone else all the time. And he says those people feel dead. There's a shutdown. There's a disconnect. But when you are in that present moment, there's a connection and a beauty and an aliveness that people recognize. And that beauty and aliveness is when we are connecting. And for me, it's that heart connection. So being in the present moment for me is being in that heart space. And then as the Dalai Lama says, when you realize that everything springs only from yourself, you learn both peace and joy. So it's up to you to be joyful and spread that joy. And it really, really does make a difference. You know, the joy escalates. If it emanates from you, it can only escalate. And if you are filled with suffering and pain and anger, that escalates. So really choose joy and peace, and that'll make such a huge difference. So without further ado, I think what I'm going to do is let us go into this quiet meditation where we're considering all the beings of the planet and going into our heart space and sending out that peace and joy to the entire world. So again, just relax your body completely. If your animal friends are around you, that's wonderful. I'm sure they're feeling quite peaceful. If they're not, just visualize them calming down as you calm down. Take a deep breath in. Slowly breathe out. And now move into your heart. So just take your focus down to your heart center. You can actually even place your hand over your heart. You can become familiar with your heartbeat. See if you can feel that pulse of life pulsing through your body. The rhythms of the earth in tune with your body's rhythms. And then feel that beautiful joy and absolute unconditional love that you have for all of nature. Feel that connection. Feel that support that you have from Mother Nature. Know that you are not alone. Know that you have all the support and love in the world. And that love is unbounded. It is limitless. And it's filling your heart and filling every cell of your body. Now slowly start sending that love out, and you can perhaps see it as a field of rose gold light circling around your heart space and then expanding through your body and then beyond your body into the room around you, the room that you're sitting in, infusing the very walls and then moving into the other rooms and moving outside of the walls into the gardens, sending that love out to every being that is with you at this time. And then send it out a little bit further to all the nature beings that are living in your neighborhood, and even to the human beings. There is no separation. And then send it out beyond your neighborhood, maybe to the forests and the wild places where the animals are roaming free, the birds, the insects, and also the plants and trees, to the earth, to the rocks and the minerals, the metals, and to the waters, the streams that are flowing down to the oceans. And then extend that love even further out to the edge of the continents, through the countries, through the cities, and further wild spaces to the edge of the land, and then over to the seas, to the sea beings. The dolphins, the whales, all the fish, the sea urchins and anemones, all the plant life underneath the waves. And then send it even further out to the continents on the other side of the waters. The strange lands that you may not have visited. So that this sphere of love, this energy circle of love, surrounds the whole planet, connecting you with every being, with every molecule, and almost feel yourself become dissolved into this beautiful energy field of unconditional love. This is the only thing that exists at this time. Feel the peace and beauty that is there. Feel the joy of life, the joy of connection. And you can even go beyond planet Earth to the stars, to the other planets. There is no limit. Sending the love out to the entire universe, to beings who we may not be able to describe, who we don't even know are there, the invisible beings, perhaps the ones that guide us in our work, in our dreams. And feel that there's no separation, that we are all one. Let's be in this energy for a while. And now, slowly, start bringing your awareness back. See the stars, the planets. Take your focus to your own planet Earth. Become aware of the physicality of Earth, the minerals, the metals, the continents, the land masses, the waters, the oceans, the islands. Bringing your awareness back to the edge of your continent that you are on, your awareness back to the lands and the country that you are living in, all the way back to your neighborhood, through the wild spaces, then all the way back to your garden, gardens around you, the plants, the trees, the birds, the insects, the earth, the minerals, the waters, and then back to your building that you're living in, through the walls, and back to the room that you're sitting with your animal friends in, and then back to your own physical body, and then back to your heart space. Again, put your hand on the center of your heart and feel once again that beautiful support of Mother Nature, that unconditional love, absolute respect, and transformational joy. That feeling of celebration bubbling up inside you. That feeling of oneness with all beings doesn't leave you as you become aware of the physicality of your body. Take your focus on your feet and stay very grounded. Become aware of the soles of your feet against the solid earth beneath you. This is the earth that supports you in your daily life. These are the feet that carry you through your day. Become aware of the chair you're sitting on, the floor beneath you. You can move your toes and move your fingers. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and give yourself a really big stretch. Okay, everyone. Give you a little bit of time to just get back into your bodies. And I just hope you manage to feel that beautiful state of connection, which the Venda people of South Africa call Buchle, B-U-C-H-L-E, which is that state where everything is at peace and harmony, and your own body is at peace and harmony with the rest of the world. And that's the state that people strive to get to in their lives. And we can do that just by connecting with nature and the animals. Okay, so if anybody does have any questions or just wants to share something, I'd like to open the Q&A for discussions. I think you can just type in, instead of putting the microphones on, let's just type whatever you want to say in. You won't see it, but I'll see it, and then I'll read it out and answer it. So the board is open at the moment for any sharings or questions that you'd like to ask.
Just to say that it's the Q&A is just to the right of the chat.
There's a question from Linda. How best to respond to the knowledge of all the suffering in wild animals and domestic? Linda, suppose that is something that is a constant challenge in our lives, and the best way to respond is what Maria said to Linda, is to celebrate, to find the joy. When we see suffering, sometimes there's something we can do about it, on a physical level, whether it is joining an organization or signing petitions. So do what you can on the physical level, but also work on an energetic level. So see that animal that is suffering at that time, and see the positive. So actually visualize things transforming and changing. We do that all the time in a very conscious way, especially with the lion things that I work with, the lion bone trade, which is a horrendous thing in South Africa. You'll have seen perhaps that I do global prayers and meditations for lions with Linda. And when specific issues come up, we actually do invite people to join us in a global prayer in order to create transformation. And it really does help, and it really assists. So if there's something that is really bothering you, I know it is so huge, especially with social media being what it is. We get bombarded with all the bad stuff. And sometimes we just have to say, I can't look at this anymore. I need to focus on the good stuff, and then focus on the good stuff, and then see if you can expand the energy of the good stuff in order to help transform the bad stuff. I know it's not easy. It is a challenge that we all have. And, maybe I sound like I know it, and this is what you must do. But I battle with it, of course, as well. There are days when I think, oh my God, it's just too terrible. I don't know what I'm doing. How can I change this? And then I have to go into meditation. I have to do some clearing and really just live in that moment, and focus on the joy and see the suffering transform. And so that's how I cope, really. And there is so much joy and having fun and just in nature, the birds, so focus on that joy and then see it expand. I hope that helps, Linda. Simon's asked a question about, do you
Wynter, I don't know if it's me or not, but we just lost
medicate
you, I think. Okay, I think it is actually Wynter because her microphone's gone off.
Can you
Yes, we can hear you now.
hear me, Janine?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what happened there. Okay. Where did I get to? Did you hear Simon's question about
You were
medicating your
just starting
animals
to read it
to
out.
keep
You're
them
just starting to
calm?
read that question out.
Okay, so Simon's asking, do I ever medicate my animals to keep them calm or quiet, or just use animal communication? So the only time I've ever used anything, it would be energy medicine, which is basically I work with Bach flower remedies, which are very effective with animals, and that would be like a rescue remedy, or there's very specific ones as well for you don't only medicate your animals, but you medicate yourself as well with that. And it's not even it's energy medicine. So it's not, you don't even, with Bach remedies, the animals don't even need to ingest it. You can just rub it on their coats, along with the visualization of the positive and the calm. So I hope that answers you, Simon. Thank you. Okay. Hedda, you're asking the animal's ability to think. Can they make a thought that changes reality as people does? Can I help a dog I treat to be in frequency that will make change on his people, like we change ours to help them? Yes, I understand what you're asking, Hedda, and I, I do feel that we can, because sometimes, and I've had this experience, is when we've tried our best to make a change or transformation, we can say to the animal, okay, it's up to you now. They can transform energy in their family as well. I've seen that happen. Somebody mentioned that they read my book, Where is Biggles, and that was when I had done as much as I could to find my cat, who had got out on the runway of Cape Town International Airport, and it had been 6 weeks. He got out of his box on the runway, and I'd been searching physically and communicating with him, and he was one step in front of me all the time. The moment I said to him, okay, I am letting this go, and I need you to make a decision. And you decide. I'm leaving it up to you now. And the next day, I got him back. So often when we're trying so hard and we think we are the ones that are going to be the savior or the hero or the healer, it's actually not. We can put it to them and they can change. But it's almost like we need to give them permission, or we need to accept and believe that they have that power. So I really hope does that make sense? That's how I understand. Very good question. Jean, what would you suggest for when a 2-year suggestions? Janine, I think it's more about compromise here as well. You know, they can make the 2-year-old.
Wynter, we're losing you
And
again.
then, but the
Sorry.
2-year-old also, and you can, you know what's, oh gosh.
You're in
Okay.
and out. You're in and out. So we hear a little bit, and then there's a gap, and then a little bit more.
Okay. It's strange because my signal is very strong here.
Well, now you sound okay, actually.
No, I sound good. Okay.
Yeah,
All
it
right,
seems
I'll
to be
just keep it.
holding.
Okay. So what I wanted to say was that um, use the communication with the dogs to around the 2-year-old, but you can also communicate in the same way to the 2-year-old. I know this sounds strange, but it's to say that he needs to be calm and visualize him being calm with the dogs as well. So visualize a positive situation. If you need to separate them, then it's kind of just do it for a short time, just sort of manage it, but explain the reasons. And I think if you do the communication with seeing them calm and then explain family and in their normal spaces, you might find that they are a lot more calmer. Especially if they want to be in that space. They might not want to be with the 2-year-old. So also, ask them what they want. And there can be compromises on both sides, but always with love and an explanation. So you don't need to force the situation if you think that, just because they want to be in the normal space. Make sure that they're actually happy to be with the 2-year-old as well. Does that make sense? Oh, great. Thank you for that question. Because it is quite a common thing, children in a household where there aren't little children, and suddenly the babies come or the children come, animals can be quite upset by that. So it's very important to explain firstly, how the child needs to behave as well, and how the animals need to behave in order to create this kind of harmonious visit rather than a stressful visit. And there can be compromise on either side. Okay. Can I ask a question of people? How did you find that meditation about spreading the joy? Did it help? If anybody wants to respond to that, it would be great. And sometimes when I do these meditations, I don't plan them. They just sort of come to me in the moment. And it, it always just seems appropriate at the time. And I felt very peaceful and lovely doing it. So I'm hoping you felt the same. And Linda, yes, you say we don't seem to think of joy, and That's the one thing that the animals have said to me. You know, they really don't want us to be martyrs for them. They don't want us to be sad for them. They want us to focus on the joy. And the message from Mandla about joy was to it helps create the balance, because you know there's so much heaviness that we are exposed to, but there is the same amount of joy, but we don't focus on it. So we need to focus on the joy in order to create that balance, so that heaviness doesn't weigh us all down. Um, and nature is all about creating balance, and it's such an important thing. And we are part of nature, but you know we're very powerful in our thoughts and our feelings. Yeah, so Hedda was saying joy is a thing that you need to put more focus on. And you've got lots of special needs animals. You do feel peace and love, but yes, joy is harder for you. It can be, you know, but look to the animals when they're in their joyful space. You know, connect in with them when they're in that joyful space, even if it's for a moment. I remember giving a talk years and years ago, and someone said that how does she cope, because she takes dogs for walks from the shelter, and she hates going back and putting them back into their cages and leaving them. She feels so terrible that she thinks she can't handle it and she might be stopping them. And I said to her, but what happens when you're on the walk? How are the dogs? Oh no, they absolutely love it. So they're not focusing on going back into the cage afterwards. Um, they're living in that moment, and they are, they're not thinking about, oh dear, she's going to put me back in the cage and then I'm going to be miserable. They're enjoying every moment of that walk. So we're the ones that keep on thinking about the negative stuff in the future. Um, and that's all about our egos and our almost having control over our lives in a way, because our thoughts um, control us. And that's where we don't need to let them. Our mind doesn't have to control us. If we go into our hearts and into that present moment, we can focus on that joy as the same as the dogs do. So focus on the joy when your animals are happy, and you're giving them such wonderful care and love, and peace, but joy as well. So connect in with that. Simon, I think you can answer the meditation question here in the Q&A. Just type how you felt, and I'll read it out. Or if it's easier, you can actually go into the chat, the public chat, and so everyone can see it.
I've put the chat back on.
Okay, great. Just in case my voice goes when I'm reading things out. Okay. And this the advice that I'm giving you here in this webinar, it really isn't just about holiday time. These situations happen throughout the year. When we have animals, there's always concerns about changes in routine, and if we're moving house, or we worry about our animals. So I've done quite a number of webinars on how to cope with things like that. So in Big Marker, you can go and scroll through all the different webinars that we have done over the last, I think it's almost 2 years now since we've been doing these webinars, and at least once a month. So there's a number of wonderful subjects that really address all the different issues that could possibly come up with the animals. There's a lot of information about working with wild animals as well. So just scroll through if you're not familiar with my work, and there are quite a few new names here, so which is wonderful. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, I think everybody said what they wanted to say, and thank you so much for joining me. And it is quite, we're all over the world, so different times zones. So it's quite late for me, and needed to change the time because of our wonderful load shedding, our electricity outages in South Africa at the moment. So I'm visualizing all the lights happily working and celebrating the South African electricity system. So it's wonderful that you could join me. Thank you so much. Thank you, Janine, for holding that space so beautifully. Justine, thank you. I'm glad it's made a difference, and I hope to see you all again on the next year. Probably, I don't think I'll be having another webinar this month. But enjoy your end of year celebrations, however you are celebrating. But just remember to focus on the joy with your animals. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And thank you, Wynter, for a
And
wonderfully informative.
with that, I think I'm going to say goodnight. Great. Thank you. And sending lots of love to everyone.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Apologies for the problems in there with the sound tonight. Elizabeth, no, we didn't see a question from you, but you can always send an email to me, Janine at animaltalkafrica.co.za, and I can forward that on to Wynter for you. Well, lots of love to everybody, and wishing you blessings during this festive season. Stay cool if you're in the south and warm if you're in the north. And we do actually have a couple of webinars coming up next week, so they will be on the will be sent out on email. Lovely, Linda. Thank you for joining, and see you next time.